Hey everyone, and welcome to the Global War Watch Network. If you want those crucial geopolitical updates that really cut through all the noise, you're going to want to hit that subscribe button. All right, so today we are digging into a massive crisis in the Strait of Hormuz. But trust me, there's a twist here that you won't see coming.
Yeah, it really all kicks off with this incredibly cryptic warning. Right at the peak of a conflict that was literally choking off the world's energy supply, America's #1 ally in the Gulf sends this message. And it basically says, the fight everyone is watching, that's just a distraction. The real threat has already moved.
And that's the big puzzle here, right? I mean, why would Saudi Arabia, of all countries, Iran's biggest rival for decades, suddenly tell the US to pump the brakes? Right in the middle of a major conflict, no less. It doesn't make any sense on the surface. Okay, so to really get what's behind this warning from Riyadh, we've got to go back. Let's rewind to what happened in late February 2026, because that's when the Strait of Hormuz basically turned into a weapon overnight.
Right, so it kicks off on February 28th. The US and Israel launched this massive air campaign called Operation Epic Fury against Iran. And Iran's response? It was immediate. Within hours, their IRGC comes out and says, that's it. The Strait of Hormuz is closed for business. And from there, things just exploded. In the next 48 hours, they hit 7 different commercial ships. And just like that, the tanker traffic, that vital flow of oil, it just stopped completely.
And the impact was, it was instant and just staggering. We're talking about ship tracking data showing a 70% drop in traffic in a matter of hours. For what's basically the world's energy superhighway, this wasn't a slowdown. It was a total and complete shutdown. Yeah, and a shutdown like that, it never stays local, does it? The economic shockwave hit pretty much immediately, and it went global. And of course, it all started with the one thing everybody needs: oil. And to really get why everyone was panicking, you've got to understand just how vital Hormuz is. Look at this. This one tiny choke point handles 1/4 of all seaborne oil in the world and 1/5 of all LNG. So when a place like that closes, it's not a small problem. The entire global energy system it shatters. Exactly. The markets just went into total chaos. You had Brent crude, which is the big global benchmark, right? It shot up from about $85 a barrel to over $100. And this happened practically overnight. We're not just talking about a price spike here. This was a massive red flag that a global supply crisis was right around the corner. So, okay, picture this. Iran is on the ropes. Global markets are freaking out. You'd think Saudi Arabia would be cheering this on, right? Pushing the US to go all in and finish the job. And at first, that's exactly what happened. But then, just a few weeks later, something changed. And it changed in a huge way. Oh, it was stunning. Get this. In March, Riyadh is calling this a historic opportunity to remake the Middle East. They're telling the US to ramp things up. But by April, they're literally pressing the US to stop the blockade and get back to the negotiating table. It was a complete 180. So that brings us back to the big question. What on earth can make America's most important partner in the Gulf do a complete U-turn on their strategy in the middle of a war? What did they know that nobody else did?
Well, the answer, it turns out, wasn't in the Persian Gulf at all. The real threat, the thing that forced Saudi Arabia to change its mind, was popping up hundreds of miles away. It was another choke point, one that was even more vulnerable. And for the kingdom, it was an existential threat.
And here it is, the Bab el-Mandeb Strait. It's the super narrow waterway that connects the Red Sea to the Gulf of Aden. So while the entire world was laser focused on Hormuz, the Saudis were busy rerouting their oil through pipelines across the country, exporting it from the Red Sea ports like Yanbu. And that meant the Bab el-Mandeb had suddenly become their one and only lifeline to the world.
And that was the terrifying new reality for Saudi intelligence. They realized that with the US blockading Iran, Tehran's ultimate checkmate move wasn't going to be in Hormuz, it was going to be right here. If Iran could get the Bab el-Mandeb shut down, they would completely cut off Saudi Arabia's last export route. All of its oil would be trapped. We're talking about total economic strangulation.
Wow. So this crisis, it did way more than just expose a weak spot. It fundamentally redrew the map of power in the region. It kicked off these long-term changes that are probably going to define global security for years, maybe even decades.
Yeah, we're really seeing 4 huge shifts here. First, that classic US security guarantee,
It took a big hit. The Gulf states realized, hey, our biggest ally can also be the one who drags us into a disaster. Second, Hormuz isn't a safe open waterway anymore. It's now a contested zone. And because of that, you're seeing these states pushing for what they call strategic autonomy. They're looking for new partners beyond the U.S. And finally, all this created a kind of diplomatic vacuum, which let new players like Pakistan step up and play mediator. The old U.S.-led order is starting to look a lot more fragmented.
You know, what this crisis really drove home is that in our totally interconnected world, the new battlefields aren't always on land. They're the arteries of the global economy, the choke points themselves. Which leaves us with a pretty chilling question, right? Where is the next one going to be turned into a weapon? Really makes you think. Anyway, thank you so much for your time and for joining us for this breakdown. Yeah, and if you found this analysis valuable, do us a huge favor. Please like, share, and definitely subscribe to the Global War Watch Network. It's the best way to stay ahead of the curve on the next crisis. And we really want to know what you think. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We'd also love for you to join our community on social media. All the links for that are right there in the description.